I'm Dr. John Demartini, and every week I have a brief presentation that I do to uplift and inspire ideas. Today is how to use meditation and internal dialogue or affirmation to your greatest advantage. And so if you have something to write with and write on, that might be wise to have. I first got introduced to affirmations and meditation in 1972. And so I'll start with meditation. We'll end up with affirmation. I was introduced to what is called an alpha meditation in 1972. And shortly after that, around 1973, 74, I was involved in a yogi meditation that I received from a female yogi that I was trained in. Then I met Maharishi and I studied TM meditation. And over the years, many different forms of meditation from various experts in the field, read many books on it, and from the yogis to the mystics to the scientists even. And I found that many times people were using meditation as an escape instead of a tool, as a dissociation from the challenges of their life, and used it as like a pill, like a codeine or a pleasure-taking system to escape. And I found that many times people that were escaping with it were not utilizing it as it could be used. And meditation is very, very powerful science. It's been around, as you know, for millennium. And who knows when it originally started. We typically think of the Buddha meditating under some tree or something, but it goes way before that. Probably to the very first individuals on the planet probably sat and contemplated and meditated. But I like to think of two basic forms of meditation. And this you might want to write. One is a passive creature meditation. And the second one is an active creator meditation. A passive creature meditation and an active creator meditation. The passive creature meditation is when you may sit in silence. Now you can do all kinds of things that you might enhance. You might put a metronome in place. You might listen to your heartbeat. You might do it relative to your breathing. You might have certain music in the background. And all those are nice. None of those are in any way really distracting. They're useful. But ultimately, you're attempting to dissolve the noise in the mind. The noise that's in the mind that keeps you from being present are all the judgments, all the impulses and instincts, infatuation, resentments that are preoccupying your mind, waiting to be balanced and cleared and returned to appreciation and love. And so all that noise sits in the mind. And ultimately, meditation is an exercise for integration, to integrate the pairs of opposites that are in the mind. When we infatuate with something, we're actually resenting its opposite. And when we resent something, we're infatuating with the opposite. And these separated components, instead of integrated components, make up noise, facilitation, inhibitions in the brain. And all that vies for attention and distraction, because anything you infatuate with or resent occupies space and time in your mind and runs you until you're actually balanced that. And then your mind is present and you have a signal to noise ratio that's high, and you become, in a sense, in a meditative state. So meditation was mainly for the sake of integration more than escape. So many people, as I said, have this challenge in their life and they go, oh, I got to go meditate and escape it. And then when they come back, they're right back in the situation. Instead of cognitively going in there and finding the upsides to what they think is a downside and neutralizing it and dissolving the noise and living in a meditative state almost, they're escaping with it. I don't recommend that. I recommend using meditation as an integrative tool to synthesize and synchronize the misperceptions of reality that you may be storing in the so-called subconscious mind, and bring your awareness to a superconscious awareness. Now, the passive creature meditation is where you're passively receptive to your intuition and ultimately your inspiration and lucid vision as you take the things that stimulate you, which wakens up your beta waves in the brain, and those that sedate you, which knock out and activate your delta waves, and bring those into an equilibrium until you get to a kind of an alpha theta state. And right at that alpha state, usually you have gamma burst in the brain, in the electroencephalograph, that allow you to let you know you got aha, insight, inspiration, insight and vision. The integration of the day and night, the integration of the masculine and feminine, the integration of all pairs of opposites is where the meditative state really is. That's where it's most powerful. Again, you can do breathing, because when you inhale, it tends to activate the sympathetic system, and you exhale, it tends to activate the parasympathetic system, day and night, oxidation reduction. And if you have a perfect 1-to-1 ratio breathing, as some yogis used to do, you center yourself and bring the day and night into balance, which then brings your suprachiasmatic nucleus, which regulates day and night cycles into order and hormones into order, and balances your autonomics and help you heal. So meditation, without a doubt, is a healing tool. But you can follow your breathing, you can listen to your heart rate, you can do all those things I mentioned, a metronome. But ultimate objective is to get to the point where the noise is calmed down. You've calmed the ripples on the lake or the ocean, you might say, from the winds of perception. When you're elated, you warm up the system, you fire yourself up. When you're depressed, you cool it down, and that creates a wind in the brain, instead of being in love, where you actually have it centered, where there's no ripples on the pond of the mind, as a metaphor. When you get to a point where you're sitting in silence, quietly, and either consciously integrating pairs of opposites, whatever's coming up in the mind, looking for its opposite, centering it, or just passively waiting, which will usually calm down the mind through our intuition, homeostatically bringing us into homeostasis balance. The moment you get to this alpha gamma state, aha will come, an insight will come. And I would recommend that you have a little notepad there, so to capture those moments and to document the visual, auditory, smell, taste, tactile, or any sensational modem that allows you to get access to what comes into the mind. So you're a passive creature receiving an inner signal from spontaneous potentials that go on in the brain that allow you to, in a sense, see something that you may want to accomplish in your life. What's interesting is when we're infatuated with something, when we minimize ourselves relative to it, or resent something and exaggerate ourselves, we're inauthentic. We're exaggerating or minimizing ourselves. And we want to be loved for who we are, but we can't be loved for who we are when we're not being who we are. And so what happens is all of a sudden we're centered and we're authentic. And in that authentic moment, that signal, that intuitive, inspired signal comes through. The voice and the vision on the inside becomes louder than the opinions and challenges on the outside. In that moment, if you capture that, and where usually tears of inspiration come, and capture what's there, that's the most authentic clarity of directing your life by. I've been using that all these years. It's very powerful. It's almost like a confirmation you're being authentic, and you're being rewarded in a sense inside your physiology for homeostasis, and you're bringing healing. You're not undergoing entropy and aging in that moment. You're in a timeless mind, ageless body state. You're very present. That state passively is the passive creature meditation. And there's many different ways of doing that. And I don't want to say that anyone is right or wrong. You know, I've studied various breathing techniques and long inhalations, short exhalations, short inhalations, longer exhalations, oscillating faster, slower. There are hundreds of people out there with meditation tools, and they're all valuable, and they all have a place. I wouldn't get attached to any of them, but I would include and be inclusive, not exclusive, and use them as if they function in your life at different moments. But the passive one is simply passive there. A transcendental meditation is a beautiful way of doing it. You could use a mantra if you want to transcend the stuff that's coming into the brain, as long as you're not trying to escape it and you're not trying to get addicted to this blissful state and then not ground yourself in reality and get other productive things done. But in that state, lucid vision, lucid messages, lucid feelings come, and I would capture them, get them down on paper. And that's a passive creature meditation. Now you can be doing that sitting up, you can be doing that lying down, you can be doing that in a chaise lounge, you can be doing that on an airplane. I've done it every imaginable place. Really, meditation has nothing really, it's not restricted by any posture. So you don't have to go, oh my God, if I don't have this right posture, I can't do it. Your mind has a capacity to go way beyond anything your physical structure is doing. Those things help. They are useful. They make it easier possibly, but you don't want to limit it to that and think of it, I can't do it if I can't do those other things. Because the mind has a capacity to be in any position. I've done meditations in elevators while I'm moving in an elevator, and really quick meditations. I've done it sitting in the middle of a rock concert. The outside world, you can transcend. So don't be caught in about where it is or how it is or the postures and things like that. Just your objective is to get present. Your objective is to just sit silent and let the noise and ripples calm down and get present. And that may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Some take 30 minutes. Whatever the length of time is, more proficient in use you know as you master it, the quicker you are able to get into a transcendent state. We have what is called the immanent-minded state, which are polarized: joy, sorrow, happy, sad, attraction, repulsion, elation, depression. These are polarities. And then we have a synthesized transcendental state, which is true grace, true inspiration, true entheos, enthusiasm, true presence, true certainty. There's lucidity there. And that's the state that ideally you're waiting to obtain. Once you get this, and once you capture that, you go back into meditation again. And now what usually comes in is a vision about what you may want to accomplish, or what you want to do, or what you want to fulfill or complete, or maybe a new perception on something. It'll be a perception, some decision, or some action that will usually come through, because our brain deals with sensory neurons, interneurons, and motor neurons for perception, decisions, and actions. Whatever comes through, now you can go into an active meditation where you now go in and you now take that content that you just perceived and you now concentrate on that becoming reality. In other words, if you have a goal or an objective, you concentrate on every particle of detail about what you imagine it to be. You may want to imagine myself speaking at the Palladium one time in London. I even got a video of Houdini, who was performing there, and took a picture of that and cut and pasted my picture in there and put the Palladium behind it. And then I would imagine myself seeing all the seats and imagine myself navigating through the location and seeing the balconies and feeling it. And, you know, your vision is proportionate to the details, and your vitality in life is proportionate to the details. And the more you can see and create that in your mind's eye, the more you actually can create that in your reality. And I call that the active creator meditation. What's interesting is I found that if you were to take a black background in your mind and just visualize a black background, and then a white number one in the middle of it, just a white number one, and you were to try to hold that image, white number one, black background, and hold that image, in a matter of 7 seconds, in all probability, your mind would be distracted by all the noise in the brain. And you'd lose contact with that, and you'd have to come back to it. And you'd distract and you'd come back to it. And so most of the time, all that noise in the brain is preoccupying the mind and dissipating the concentration, the focus. But if you just imagine this, imagine you had a little bowl of lemon water, another bowl of blueberry water, another bowl of concentrate, another one of strawberry concentrate. So you had yellow, blue, and red, or yellow, red, and blue, or something, red, yellow, and blue. And you had these concentrates in. Then you had another bowl with just plain water. And then you imagined yourself with a black background and a white number one there. And now you take your tongue and you go and dip it into the red strawberry. And then you go and lick the one everywhere, front, back, everything, and lick it and paint it with red until the white number one is red. And you probably think this is bizarre, but it's a really powerful exercise. So you take you lick and get strawberry concentrate on you, and you lick it until it's all red. And then you swish it off and dip it into the water and rinse off your mouth. And then once that dries, you then take the yellow and you do the same thing and take all the red and turn it into yellow and paint it with yellow lemon. So you can taste the lemon, you can see the yellow going over the red after it dries, and it's now purely yellow. And when you do, you dip it into water and you rinse it off. And then you go into the blueberry and you taste the blueberries, and then you go and lick the whole thing again with your your tongue, until the entire thing after it's dry is now blue. And you'll find out something interesting. As long as you're concentrating on ever finer detail and moving from one detail to another, you can keep an image in your mind indefinitely. I mean, I've seen people do this exercise, and we've done a long string of it. I can have them hold the same image for an hour straight without distraction. But if you do not have those details, I guarantee within 7 seconds, something will distract you. You won't be able to keep a vision. So the active creator meditation is focusing on ever finer details and keeping those details moving from one detail to the next on what it is that you want to create in your life to create an active creator meditation. So now you're taking a passive creature meditation, which is an idea, some goal, some objective that's inspiring to you that you want to create. And then you turn around and actively then focus on all the details. So in the passive state, you're looking at the details and capturing them. And the active, when you're concentrating on the details and you're now enacting them. Your innermost dominant thought becomes your outermost tangible reality. And by concentrating ever more finer detail and keeping it in motion, you'll be able to hold an image. And the reason why many people don't create in their life as powerfully as they can is because they can't hold an image. They keep being distracted by these noises in the brain instead of focusing. That's why I tell people in all my seminars and the Breakthrough Experience and all the programs I do, how important it is to focus on the highest priority action. Whatever's highest in your priority is most spontaneously acted upon. It is the one that has the least noise, is the one that's most lucid and clear. It's the one that is in the forebrain and activates the forebrain, which gives inspired vision. That's why if you're not filling your day with high priority actions, you're going to be distracted throughout your day. And all the noise is going to be created, and all the emotions coming out of the amygdala response, the impulses and instincts are going to dominate you. And the signal to noise ratio is going to be weak. And you're not going to be able to see the signal of what you're inspired by. And you're going to get filled up with all the noise and distracted. And you're going to lower your self-worth instead of inspired. So the active creator meditation is taking the inspired information that you received in the passive creature meditation and taking it and now concentrating on what it is. And that's after you've done the passive one to such a degree that you're lucid and had tears of inspiration on something you want to create. If you do that and focus on never finer detail and keep it in motion, you can hold an image literally indefinitely. And as long as the details, if you run out of details, you're going to start distracting again. But the second you add more details and keep moving the details, the master is the one who has an infinite number of details. They keep focusing on more details. That's why the executive center in the forebrain is the strategic management center. It's a strategic planning center. It has the most associations and most details you can put in there. In the Breakthrough Experience, one of the things that I talk about, which is my signature program, is I not only have the Demartini Method designed to dissolve the noise, so you're living almost in a meditation state, so you're most lucid, so you're most clear, and you're least distracted, but also the value information to make sure you live by priority, because that is increasing the probability of you being in that state, most objective, most centered, least noise, and least likely to be distracted. But also in the manifestation formula that I teach in the Breakthrough Experience, how to actually focus on every finer detail and manifest something that's inspiring, that's authentic inside you that you would love to bring to the world. As I said, your innermost dominant thought becomes your outermost tangible reality, and your innermost dominant thought is an expression of what you value most, your highest value. So the active creator meditation is very powerful, and we could call it creative visualization. I remember years ago, Shakti Gawain had a book called Creative Visualization. I had the opportunity to spend time with Shakti many years ago. But she and I had discussions about this in my own office in Houston many years ago, and talked about how to get focused on the details and hold the image of that. And when you can get it and when you can smell it and taste it and feel it, that's why I put in the lemon and blueberries and stuff, and you can put some sound in there. The more details you put in there, the more powerful the creation is. And you can hold your image of what you want. And whoever holds the image, Phelps, the swimmer, he did that and held the vision of what he wanted to do with his swimming. He was master of that. And he got to ever finer detail. There's some interviews on him talking about the details he went through, the absolute infinite amount of detail. If this happens, what do I do? If this happens, what do I do? He was ready for anything that happened, so he was prepared, and he could see it in his mind's eye. That's the active creator meditation. Now, there's other forms of meditation, as I said, but I like to narrow it down to those two. One's a passive one. You're receiving information that's authentically inspired about what you would want to perceive, decide, or do in life. And then the other one is the active creator meditation, where you're actually manifesting it into the reality. And that comes now to a topic which we call affirmation. The term affirmation in the New Age world is sort of like a positive statement, but that's not what it originally meant. Original idea of it is to make firm in one's mind, a condition of firmness in one's mind, affirm. And what an affirmation was, just like they talked about in religious writings, firmament, which meant firm mind, a place where the mind was unwavering, where you had steadiness of mind and the capturing of the divine nature, as the philosophers and theologians would say. But an affirmation is a statement that is authentic, that is one lucid, that is congruent with what you value, that is a checkup from the neck up and reminder of what it is you feel called to create in the world, that is aligned with not some fantasy of one-sidedness, not I'm always happy, I'm never sad delusion, but an affirmation that regardless of whether I'm supported or challenged, whether things are going easy or difficult, I know that both of them are feedback mechanisms for my authentic path. You creating a statement, which is a principle that you know if you live your life by it, it's solid and it's firm and it's congruent with what you value. And it's not polarized as a fantasy. It's not an impulse that you seek. It's not an instinct that you're trying to avoid. It's something you know inside you feel destined to create. Your innermost dominant thought is your highest value. When you set affirmations that are congruent and aligned fluently with the highest values, non-polarized, highly balanced, highest values, where you've mitigated the risks in your mind and you're present with the actions that it takes to achieve something, those statements, those concise reminders, checkups from the neck ups, are great tools to take as an active creator meditation to add to the power of creating it, because now you're taking your visual and now you're putting your audio matching it. So whatever that visual image is, maybe say speaking at the Palladium, I am speaking at the Palladium, I am inspiring 2,000 people with my messages from my heart. You're making a statement about what you're really inspired and committed to, that your life shows evidence spontaneously towards, that shows up in the active and the passive vision, the active meditation. And this is an affirmation that's congruent with that. If you do that, you're going to increase the probability of having the manifestation. So affirmations are not to be just put in a polarized fashion. I'm always happy, I'm never sad. I am kind, I'm never cruel. These are polarizations that are unobtainable. As the Buddha says, the desire for that which is unobtainable and the desire to avoid that which is unavoidable is the source of human suffering. So anytime you try to take a polarization and try to only get one side and not both sides of life, you're going to have self-defeat. It's like trying to get a one-sided magnet. Not going to happen. It's like trying to get a yin-yang symbol without the yang or the yin. You need both. So when you actually make a statement, an affirmation, you can never have certainty in that statement unless it's balanced. If I said to you, you're always nice, you're never mean, you're always kind, you're never cruel, your own BS meter would go off and your intuition would be thinking of when you're mean and when you're not so nice. And if I said you're always mean, you're never nice, you're always cruel, you're never kind, your BS meter would go off and maybe start thinking about when you were nice. But if I say sometimes you're nice, sometimes you're mean, sometimes you're kind, sometimes you're cruel, sometimes your own kindness is cruel to somebody else, and sometimes your meanness is nice to somebody else, and you put the two together, you immediately go, yep, that's true. I have both sides. So don't set up an affirmation that's polarized to one side, that's not congruent with what you truly value, that you want to make sure that you have a spontaneous effort and action moving in that direction to prove that you're committed to that, not some fantasy whim because you've seen somebody that you envy and you try to imitate them and be second at somebody else instead of being first at you, but something that's truly authentic to you, and define that. Maybe write it out clearly until you go, bang, that's it, until it brings a tear to your eye. And it matches what you saw in the creature meditation and what you actually are now visualizing in your active creator meditation. And you're holding that image and you're affirming it in your mind's eye. And if you take the affirmation and you take the visualization and you have the innermost dominant thought until you get tears of inspiration, when you get a tear of authenticity, it's a great guide that you're on track. In that state, your body will feel something and you'll be yearning to spontaneously take actions on the objective. When you're not having a spontaneous yearning to act, if there's something that's a fantasy or something that's not high in your values, and if you need external motivation, if some form of extrinsic motivation to get you to take action on what you say you want and what you're visualizing, it's not important. Don't waste your time on things that aren't the most important. Prioritize your life. if you prioritize your actions, prioritize your thoughts, prioritize the things you do, you increase the probability of having a stronger signal to noise ratio, less noise, easier to meditate, easier to affirm, because you're now living authentically. So that's basically the summary of having a meditation practice and also an affirmation practice. They can be woven together in a dovetailed fashion. Those have been something that I've been involved in since 72, nearly 50 years. Since November will be 50 years since I'd started. And definitely a valuable tool in your life. Some of the greatest athletes, greatest singer-songwriters, they see things in their mind's eye in these passive and active states and then create them into reality. So we all have this, whether we want to call it under a meditative state or we just call it contemplation or whatever the names are. We're all doing this. We might as well do it cognitively and consciously and use it wisely. So again, passive creature meditation, active creator meditation, make sure they're congruent, make sure they're inspired, make sure that you've transcended the emotions that are sitting there and get into a transcendental feelings and allow yourself to go and create. You're a master creator in reality. To help you, I have a program called the Breakthrough Experience. And I hope that you will join me on this, because this is where I can get to actually work with individuals. I love helping people. Would love to help you actually master these skills. The master your mind and your life with all types of proven skills in here. Now, I have my Demartini method, which is the way to dissolve all the emotional noise in the brain. I've got the prioritization value systems to get it onto priority, where you have the most lucid visions and you get the most alpha states. I also have the manifestation formula on how to manifest things, and where we go through these different steps and we can use these meditations. And we also go in there and how to own the traits of the greats, because what we do is we go through and we see people that we envy and we imitate, and we try to be somebody we're not, and we inject values into our life and cloud the clarity of what our mission is and try to be somebody we're not. And being second at somebody else is not as powerful as being first at being you. So in the Breakthrough Experience, I show you how to transform your life from being a passive person into an active creator of what you want in life. So you can see life on the way, not in the way, and you can master your destiny. You can be a victim of your history or a master of your destiny. The Breakthrough Experience is for people who want to master their destiny. It's not a rah-rah session standing on chairs and listening to music. It's a very precise scientific way of helping you master your life. I've been doing this and working on this and developing this program. I've presented it 1,147 times in many, many countries around the world, 100,000 plus students. And I'm certain that it can be a transformation in your life. So please take advantage of that. I'd really love to help you with this. I'd love to help you obtain what I've been blessed to obtain in my life by teaching you these tools and methods that are the ones that have taken me from living in a tent when I was a teenager to living on the most amazing life today. So I'll see you at the Breakthrough Experience. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you also next week. Please take advantage of what I just shared with you and try it out. See what happens.